Well, in the words of the great Neil Diamond, hello again, hello, Rod Woodward here in situ in my own personal passport photo booth, and joined as ever by my partner in crime, my comedic compadre in the Emirates Chamber of Horrors somewhere in the frozen north. It's Gary Marshall. Give us a wave, Gaz.
Good evening, Rodster.
I'm all good and very excited this week, because it's always a pleasure when we see the little sign on our third Zoom window flick from vacant to occupied. But this, I can tell you, is one I've been looking forward to more than ever. It's our very special friend, soon to be yours. Dr. Kevin Jones is here. He is. Let me just tell you a little bit about Kevin Jones. He's a kind of a showbiz superhero, because by day he is the consultant chest physician at the Royal Bolton Hospital, but by night he becomes Britain's funniest doctor, I think it's fair to say. And he's not only a stalwart on the after-dinner circuit, a champion at the Edinburgh Festival, but also an all-round good egg, and we're delighted he's here. Dr. Kevin, thanks.
Oh, I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Two of my favourite comedians, Rod Woodward, Royal Variety Performance Star, and Gary Marshall, the Doncaster Bard. Absolutely. I've seen both of you many times. Love you both. Delighted to be here. And I am Britain's funniest doctor. And the only reason I can get away with that is I'm Britain's funniest doctor who's still working as a doctor. When you look at people like Jonathan Miller, Graham Garden, Harry Hill, Adam Kay, etc., they all gave up medicine, didn't they? But I've continued to do both. So that's how I can get away with Britain's funniest practicing doctor.
Practicing.
Practicing. I'm going to get better. I promise you. I'm 66. I've got to get better soon.
Well, there's one person in this meeting who I know is slightly confused now, and that is our producer, Ian Parsons, who was a huge aficionado of the Queen's Gambit. So you can imagine how excited he was when I told him that we had a consultant chess physician coming on here.
Well, fair play to Ian. I have watched the Queen's Gambit, and I'm a complete chess lunatic. I've even got myself a chess teacher now. I even got myself a chess teacher because my son, who's a bit of a smart aleck, went to Oxford. He's taken up chess, so I desperately need to beat him. So I've got myself a chess mentor. Some grandmaster now teaches me. So yeah, the Queen's Gambit was fantastic, I have to say.
We're trying to get Gary to watch it.
Yeah, it's there to watch. There's only 7 episodes, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's what's good about it. The other great thing about it, I don't want to ruin it for you, it actually has a happy ending. And for old people like me, you watch these series, don't you, and expect that it's all going to end tragically, but you'll enjoy it because it has a happy ending, Gaza.
I've always liked a happy ending.
Yeah, of course you have. Of course you have.
Films he watches.
Don't have to be watching anything. As long as it's got a happy ending, I'm fine.
Yes, okay. We won't go too far into your onanism.
Onanism. I love a biblical reference, and we don't get many on this show.
That's right. It was Onan, I think. He scattered his seed on the ground. Yeah,
he did. I've been quite surprised the last couple of weeks at the array of subjects that we've managed to squeeze in. And with Nina Gilligan, we covered everything from fish pies to lesbianism. So it was a real far-reaching program, that one, I think.
Very similar, though, wasn't it? Really, the fish pies and no. Cut that out.
I didn't see the program with Nina, but she's coming to speak up at our golf club soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. She's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, she's a pleasure. She really is. Well, if you haven't established the premise of this program yet, I'm going to let Gary explain it to you, since it's his inception, I think it's fair to say.
Well, it's basically we send out the categories to our guests. They choose 4. The 5th one has to be dinner guests. Your top 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, that you'd like to sit around the table and muse with. Now, the 4 categories that Dr. Kev has chosen are films, TV programs, sports personalities, and artists or groups. So we're going to start off with your favourite films, Kev.
Okay. Well, that was dead. Well, the first one was just dead easy. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Absolutely, without any doubt, the greatest film ever made. It was 1975. I was a medical student. I was learning my trade in genocide. and I went to see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I'm not kidding. I watched it. I laughed, I cried, I was stunned. I came straight out the cinema, went right back to the ticket office, bought another ticket, went straight back in and watched it again. Wow. And I've watched it about 18 times, the film. I've seen the show down in the West End. I've seen amateur productions of the show. And when I was in the Drama Society, darling, at Liverpool University, I've not suffered till you've done Hamlet in Batley. When I was in the Drama Society, I actually played Chief Bromden in when we did the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know Chief Bromden, it's an easy part because he doesn't say anything until he says, "Juicy fruit, my favourite." That's about all he says. So that was an easy part. So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Jack Nicholson. Wouldn't you just love to go out drinking with Jack Nicholson? Isn't he just a man's man? So One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And think of all the people who started in that film. You know, Danny DeVito. That was his first film, I think. Because have you seen it? You know, it's all in a psychiatric hospital. Yeah. And when you watched it first, you thought that all those actors must be real psychiatric nutters. And then you know, Christopher Lloyd was in it. Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a film that just covers everything that could be wonderful about life and about fighting back against authority and everything. It's just brilliant. Oh, please, God, watch it if you haven't watched it. I presume you've watched it.
The Indian's brilliant in it, to be fair, isn't he?
Chief.
Oh, the juicy fruit moment was brilliant, wasn't it?
Incredible.
It's incredible. And I saw an interview just recently with Nicholson, and he was recounting the tale of the first time that he went on location and saw these characters, and he genuinely thought they'd been brought in from a loony bin.
Yeah. Well, Milos Forman, the director, he actually wanted them to live in the psychiatric hospital, which they did for a bit. And they even put some of the psychiatric patients in the crew. So they were helping to film and everything. So it all became a big family. And the consultant psychiatrist in the hospital in Oregon is actually in the film. He plays the consultant psychiatrist in the film who interviews Nicholson. It was an unbelievable project, It's got to be the best film ever made.
I love the scene where they all got wasted.
Yeah.
Nurse Ratchet comes back the next day, and the fella from The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
I didn't see him all the time. He was like with a big straw in his mouth.
Yeah. And you've got to believe he can't be anything but a psychiatric resident. It's just incredible.
And how good was she, Nurse Ratchet? She was incredible, wasn't she?
Oh, God, Louise Fletcher, unbelievable. Now, the thing is, my mother was Irish Catholic and very, very straight, my mother. And she completely and utterly missed the point of the film because obviously I took my mother to see it. And she came out and said, "It's absolutely appalling, Kevin, that film. Absolutely appalling. That lovely Nurse Ratchet had the place absolutely running like clockwork. And then that man came in and ruined it for everybody." Have you ever known anyone miss the point of a film like my mother could? God almighty.
Well, it's interesting that you were in it as well. I could see you as McMurphy, though, to be fair.
No, I was the chief. Yeah. No, we had a really good guy who played Matt Murphy, Nick Lightowler, who went on actually, Nick, and he joined a punk band. I can't remember the name of the punk band, but they did that, the song about suburbia. Anyway, never mind. Forget it.
Well, that's a well-justified first choice. I got to be fair.
Go on, what's number 2 then, Kev?
Oh, Zulu. Come on. Zulu's got to be the best British film. It's just incredible. And the reason... Well, I loved Zulu anyway, but the other thing is my dad was Welsh, right, and he was a doctor in Chester, but he was from North Wales, my father, so he would speak from the back of his throat like I'm about to cry. I'm a doctor from St. Asaph. I'm about to cry. Well, anyway, when Ivor Emmanuel out of Zulu, who sings Man of Heart, I sing him something they like, Ivor. Anyway, Ivor Emmanuel was in pantomime in Chester and he got ill and my dad was a GP, looked after him and became friends with Ivor Emmanuel. Ivor Emmanuel actually came to our house just after he'd married Patricia Breeden, his second wife. It only lasted 2 years. But anyway, so I knew Ivor Emanuel very well.
That's amazing. That is amazing, because our producer told me in the build-up, even was telling me that apparently Ivor was from Pont Rhydyfen, which is where Richard Burton was from.
Port Talbot, yeah.
Just outside Port Talbot. And apparently Ivor's family, this is quite sad really, but during the war, his mother, his father, his grandfather and his sister were all killed in the war. So he went to live with a woman up the road. And so every time, when he made it big, whenever he'd go around the world filming, he'd come back with some special gift for her. And the one day he had nothing to give her, so he gave her his boots from Zulu, which she was obviously not very impressed with. But they just so happened to be in the company of the Pont Rhydyfen village idiot, and apparently that's a position they take quite seriously. In well, it's normally a position that's sort of under a lot of competition, I think, in some of the Welsh villages. You'll attest to, Dr. Kemp. He laid claim to these boots straight away, and he never took them off from that day. And then they buried this guy in the cemetery in these boots. But they've never actually. I mean, they don't want it made too public, so I'm not going to say much more about it, because there'll be all kinds of grave raiding.
I think you've said enough, mate. I think you're already finished with them.
How weird is that? Buried in the Zulu boots.
Incredible. But what a film, though. Zulu is just stupendous. So those are my top 2 films, and then I had to find another 3 just to fill in. But
what's number 3 then, Kev?
I can't remember. Can you remember?
Yeah, I can actually.
Why have you written it down? Goodfellas is in there. I loved Goodfellas.
Annie Hall was your number 3.
Oh, Annie Hall. Well, I watched that as well when I was at university. You can tell, can't you, how old I am? These are all the things that happened to me during my development, during my becoming a human being. But Annie Hall, I know we're not supposed to like Woody anymore, are we? But he was the funniest man on earth. And there's a scene in Annie Hall that I still laugh about. He's been in jail all night, okay, and they let him out in the morning. And he's surrounded by all these Hispanics and all these black guys, all these criminals. They've all got scars on their faces. And as they lead him out of the jail, he turns around to this bunch of absolute reprobates and says, okay, keep in touch. But Annie Hall, I think, is the best comedy film ever made. The only one that comes near it is, I've just remembered, my 4th film, which is Some Like It Hot, 1958, Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, and the utterly gorgeous Marilyn Monroe. What a film. I mean, that is absolutely brilliant.
It's brilliant, and it starts off, you could almost get thrown a bum steer there, because it starts off with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, doesn't it?
Yes.
And you think this is going to be a completely different film, but such is the genius. Billy Wilder, wasn't it?
Yeah, Billy Wilder comedy, yeah.
Fantastic.
And of course it was, I think it was banned, not banned, but it was restricted viewing when it first came out because of its... it gave some sort of homosexual references, didn't it? With the guy who, even when he finds out Tony Curtis is a man who's not bothered, he still wants to marry him. Absolutely wonderful. That's the final shot in the film, isn't it? It's brilliant.
It's another great choice, and I think I'm right in saying you haven't seen that, Gaz, either. So that's.
If I have, I'll have seen it with my mum and dad years and years ago. So it's one that I cannot remember anything in, apart from, like you say, Tony Curtis dressed as a woman in it. And so I've definitely seen it, but I can't remember it.
Yeah. Oh,
going back to Annie Hall, that won the Oscar, which is very, very rare for a comedy film.
Yes.
Win Best Picture.
Yes.
And I was saying to the lads before, I got it in the air. This is another one that I've not seen for a long, long time. I thought it was Mia Farrow. It was Diane Keaton, wasn't it?
Yes, Diane Keaton, who he was going out with at the time.
Yeah, obviously.
They were what do you call it? They were a partnership, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't forget, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest won all 5 of the big ones, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
And there's only one other film that's done that. There's a little quiz question for you. I can't remember the name of the film, but it had Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert in it.
Oh, okay. Well, Ian will find that out if he doesn't know it already, because
I can see him going crazy.
yeah, he's he presents talks on classic films, does Ian?
Actually, before he looks that up, I'm telling a bit of a lie, because since One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Silence of the Lambs got all 5, didn't they? But before One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it was this very old film, Clark Gable, Claudette Colbert, and I can't remember what it was called now. But anyway.
You like a film though, Kev, don't you? You like a film?
Oh, I love a film. Yeah. I love a film. But not these modern films with all this SGI or whatever they call it, and things exploding and all these superheroes. I like a film with a bit of a clever script. I mean, and you know, you'll be the same as me, being a comedians. We like language, don't we? We like witty language. We like wordsmiths. But films nowadays just all seem to be about explosions. It gets on my nerves.
Well, we're going to refer you to a film we've just discovered. I'm going to take the credit for this, and you can thank me later. But I actually passed it on to Gaz, and he, for once, gave me the nod here, and he had to say it's gone into his top 5. I think I'm right.
It is. It's brilliant. It's an outstanding film.
It's called The Fundamentals of Caring.
Right, I've not heard of it.
It sounds like your job description, really. But
yes.
Wonderful film.
Well, tell me quickly a bit about it. Who's in it? What's it about?
The big star, Paul Rudd. Yeah, Paul Rudd is the star, and it's about well, I don't want to give too much away. Oh, by the way, the other stars from Newport. That's going to tick a big box for you, which I only found out after the film. I thought that guy's got to be Welsh. There was just a bit of a tinge in his voice, and I googled it, and he's a Newport boy. But,
well, I'm not mad on Newport because Bolton are playing them on Monday, and it's the top of the table clash, Newport versus Bolton Wanderers. So I'm sorry, mate. Forget it with Newport as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if you beat them, watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
You can watch it anyway. It's a fabulous film.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thanks. I've not heard of that. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, he takes on a job. He's this kid's carer, isn't he? And he decides to take this boy against all advice on a road trip, and that's where the fun starts.
All right, good.
It's just brilliant piss take between them, innit?
Yeah.
By the way, Ian's come up trumps with the film. It's called It Happened One Night.
That's it. It happened one night, 1939. I think.
Yeah.
Never seen it. I'll have to watch it now.
Yeah, I like the Gimme 5 podcast because, it's crazy.
So now we're going from your films to your top 5 TV program.
No, we're not. You missed one out.
Oh, we have. We missed out number 5.
Goodfellas.
Yeah, I don't think I need to say much about Goodfellas, do I? It's like the Shawshank Redemption. Everybody puts it in their top 5. I mean, it's absolutely frightening, isn't it? I've watched it about 4 times, and that scene where Joe Pesci suddenly gets annoyed with the star of it, I've forgotten his name now, Ray Liotta, and says, "You think I'm funny? You think I'm funny? What's funny about me?" Oh my God, you start to absolutely pass out with fear because you're sure they're going to kill each other. And then he laughs, doesn't he? He is such a psycho, Joe Pesci, in that film. I'm almost glad when they shoot him because you can, because you can relax a bit then, because whenever he's about, there's just awful danger and violence, isn't there?
When that waiter comes in and he's serving him, and Joe Pesci gets his gun out and asks him to dance, and he's like, no, and then suddenly he starts firing shots at his feet.
I know.
Blows one of his feet off.
And then kills him. I mean, it's absolutely appalling, man.
Yeah, there's a reason why you've steered clear of this one, Gaz. I know, because it's he's not into films like that, but it's one that if you are going to watch a film of that genre, that's the one, isn't it?
Yes, I think so, absolutely.
Godfather?
Well, Godfather, yeah. I mean, what do you think of the Godfather, Kev?
Well, I loved it. I saw that it came out about the same time as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I remember coming out the cinema with my mates in Liverpool, and we just sort of crept out of the cinema, hiding behind pillars because we thought any minute now a black limo's going to arrive and shoot us, Yeah, The Godfather was just stunning. So then there's Casino and Godfather Part 2. So I could have put any of those in, but I just picked Goodfellas because I thought it was a bit more modern. And, you know, everything I've done up till now has been out of the 70s, you know.
Yeah, I'd go for Goodfellas if I was you guys. If you're going to watch one of those, because it's like the
I think I may have
Godfather
seen it.
with
I think I may have seen it.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
I
Blooming
just like nice
Marshall?
films.
You can't remember any film you've ever seen.
Yeah,
No, I think I may have seen
Planes,
some
Trains
like
and
it off
Automobiles
with
on
my
repeat.
parents, but I've forgotten it. Is there any films you do remember seeing?
Deep Throat.
Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Watch that.
Oh, that's a great film.
Watch that on repeat.
Yeah, that's a lovely film. I have to say that crossed my mind as well. Yeah, great comedy film. Great comedy film with an incredibly sad ending. Very.
Oh, I love the ending.
Yeah, it's so sentimental.
I love the ending when he's on the train thinking about what's happened to him, and then he realizes that he's widowed, and he goes back. Oh, just beautiful.
Yeah.
Bit of pathos. Eh?
Brings a lump.
It does. It brings a lump in your throat, Gary, not in your underpants.
By the way, Kev, I've noticed Rod, while we've been doing these, he's got some great voices. He's one of the great impersonators of our time, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to do Joe Pesci, won't you?
Joe Pesci. No, well, I've not practiced him, but
you don't have to practice. You're that good.
So what was that line? He says, "Am I a clown? Do I fucking amuse?" You'll have to bleep this out, Ian. Do I fucking amuse you? Am I some kind of fucking clown? Funny how? How am I fucking funny? Hey, how am I fucking funny?
Yeah, that's exactly the scene I was talking about. You scared me then. You scared me. I've got scared again then.
Oh, I've seen that before, that anger. Anyway, let's move on to your top TV programs, Kev.
Okay. So I have to tell you, do I? Because you've not written it down. Well, Schitt's Creek, believe it or not. A bit like the royal family, Schitt's Creek. It's about a very rich family who lose all their money and they have to go and live in some back town where they find it very hard to adapt to their newfound poverty. But it's Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. You may have seen, they're in fantastic comedy films as well. Yeah, there's a fantastic comedy film called Best of Show, and another one called Wild Wind. If you get a chance as comedians, Best in Show is an absolutely hilarious film.
I have seen that. About the dog, the Crufts type thing, isn't it?
Oh, brilliant.
The fella from Curb Your Enthusiasm, isn't it?
Larry David.
No, not Larry David.
Not
Eugene Levy.
Reiner,
no, it's Eugene Levy.
He's in American Pie, isn't he? He's the one.
No.
Eugene.
Yes, he was the dad. He was the dad in American Pie. He's Canadian, but he was the dad in American Pie. And his son, whose name I've forgotten, but it's Levy, obviously. He plays his son in it as well. He's the gay lad, and you absolutely fall in love with him. He's just utterly lovable. And then the daughter is utterly gorgeous. I've forgotten her name as well, but she's gorgeous looking and completely scatty. And the whole thing is a bit like the royal family. You remember when you first saw the royal family, it took you about 2 or 3 episodes to think, what the hell's this? Nothing's happening, you know. But eventually, once the characters become embedded in your brain and you understand how they work and how they think and what they do starts to become predictable, you just absolutely love it. And apparently it started pretty slowly, Schitt's Creek, in Canada, and then Netflix got hold of it. And since then, I think, Rod, you were saying it's won all the Emmys, hasn't it? I think it won. Yeah. Once Game of Thrones disappeared, things like Schitt's Creek and Succession, which I also watched, which was phenomenal. Yeah. Have you watched Succession?
I like.
There isn't one character in Succession that you don't hate. They're all utterly abhorrent, aren't they?
Yeah, in their own way. He's brilliant in it, isn't he?
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You'd like him because he's forever onanisming, isn't he? Onanisming, that brother. He's forever doing it.
Yeah. You're going to get a reputation for this seed scattering, Gaz.
Yes, seed scattering, yeah. So, yeah, Schitt's Creek, I loved it. I'd recommend that to anybody. Coronation Street, obviously. Yeah, I know. It's just that I'm addicted to it now. It gets worse and worse and worse. all the comedies disappeared, all the lovely characters have disappeared. There's just horrendous storylines every week now, and it's just gone.
Hasn't it?
It's gone berserk. It's gone berserk. But the problem is that I'm addicted to it now. I watch it now. I scream at the telly all the way through it. I scream at the telly. I hate it, but I have to watch it. So we won't talk any more about Coronation Street. Oh, except my kids call me Ken Barlow. I'm called Ken. Yeah, shut up. It's not funny. But in my house, I'm called Ken because they think I'm just like Ken Barlow. So, yeah.
He's obviously still in it, is he?
Yeah, he's still in it. I think he's just gone out of it for a short while with some illness, but he's in his 80s. I think he might be in his 80s, William Roach.
Oh, well in his 80s.
Yeah, I think so. He was in the very first episode, wasn't he?
First episode, yeah. My dad was an addict as well, and my sister now in Spain, she will not miss an episode, sort of in Dad's honor, really. And so she likes to keep abreast of it. And in a weird way, you know, living in Spain as expats, they feel like they've still got a little bit of Blighty going from, you know, it's just, mind you, there is a bit of the grapevine thing that they get in Coronation Street with the expats, because everyone knows everyone else's business, don't they, over there? And
yeah. Well, I lived in New Zealand for a year when I was out about a few years ago, and Corrie's about 8 years behind in New Zealand, would you believe? Yeah. Deirdre Barlow was still alive and married to Ken. Ken, I love you, Ken. Anyway, do you remember Deirdre Barlow? She used to be able to do that with her neck.
Yeah.
That's your platysma muscle. Your platysma muscle. Platysma.
she'd have been great in Wallace and Gromit, wouldn't she? She could have played.
Yeah. She would. What else did I put down in telly program?
You got the Chase.
Oh, we watch The Chase every night with tea. We record it 5 p.m. Sit down for tea at our house, Ken Barlow and the family, and we put The Chase on. I think Bradley Walsh has got to be the best host of any program I've ever seen. He's like brilliant. He's like every man, isn't he? He's able to react to anything, and he plays himself all the time and has the confidence to be himself. And he's absolutely loved. The Chasers love him. The people on it love him. I love him. Okay, we'll move on.
I must admit, I record The Chase, and I hate the first bit. I like the actual chase at the end.
Yeah.
I hate the first bit.
Yeah.
But I like the chase.
I know what you mean. I like the whole thing. I think it's got everything. You learn a bit, you get a bit of tension. The other night, some woman on her own from, I forgot where she came from, maybe Birmingham, I think. She beat the chaser one-on-one. It was unbelievable. The tension was astounding. And then we were all cheering like hell at the end. We didn't think she'd stand a chance. We predicted she'd come out with 11. She came out with 19 and won with about 3 seconds left. It was fantastic.
Who's your favourite chaser?
Oh, Paul Sinner, without a shadow of a doubt. I've worked with Paul, and he's an odd lad, but absolutely lovely. Yeah. I worked with him a few times. No, not a few times. I worked with him a couple of times, and very, very funny. I mean, the line he gets in his stand-up that I love is he says that he was being a doctor, and which of course all Asian parents want him to be, and then he gave up being a doctor to become a comedian, which absolutely shocked them. Then he came out and he sort of said, well, in India, being a homosexual is just below being a leper. Great guy.
Oh, well, that's another.
And very, very witty. Very witty. And I think he's the best chaser because he has a very analytical mind, but he's also very, very polite to them as well, isn't he? I think he's wonderful.
He did a stand-up gig in Cardiff just before lockdown, and it was a very corporate audience where you would have thought, you know, there were certain areas off limits, but he went in fearlessly, and he just had everyone eating out the palm of his hand. Couldn't believe some of the things he addressed, and just made them so funny. I think he was one of the best crossover comics. Yeah.
That can play all audiences.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was
not just the alternative circuit, but like you say, can just play the normal dinner crowd. I think he is quality.
Yeah.
Your last two.
Bit like you two, to be fair. You two can do the working men's clubs and you can do the corporate, can't you? You two can appeal to everybody.
Well, that's fair.
We're still talking about you, Gary, when you did our golf club up here. You absolutely stormed it, man. You were unbelievable. Hey, Rod, I'll get you up there as well. Not that I can afford you, Rod.
You wouldn't want me in my current state. So far from match fitness, it's untrue. I reckon once I work myself back into it, I'll have to come up and have a night out with you. Never mind the gig, but I don't want to go any further down.
Hey, Rod, if you want to come back gig, his golf club.
Is it? That's the one. I remember.
They are laughing gas. Honestly,
yeah.
A brilliant crowd.
You'd have access to that sort of stuff, wouldn't you?
Your final two TV programs are both American as well. You've got The West Wing.
Oh God, I've only just got into The West Wing. It's embarrassing, isn't it? I think it came out in 2006 and finished in 2012, so it's way past its sell-by date. But I promise you, I've just got into it now, and I'm utterly binge watching it, and it is utterly relevant even till today. Jed Bartlett, who is the president, I mean, he is a polymath, isn't he? He knows all about history. He's a grandmaster at chess. Ian Parsons, he's a grandmaster at chess, and it's just got everything. It's a stunning program, and you can learn so much from it, and you love all the characters. It's fantastic.
The guy who writes it, I think he's one of the great writers of our time, and Aaron Sorkin. And
incredible.
Yeah, he wrote A Few Good Men. And
A Few Good Men is one of the greatest films of all time for me.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I remember watching A Few Good Men with the wife, and she was drinking martini. She got pissed. I went, "You can't handle vermouth." I'm gone.
Oh, fair play, Gaz. Yeah. He got it in.
Pen, I can't find it now.
I think that's probably the speech everyone thinks of with Nicholson. If you had to sum him up in an instant, it would be that line, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, that line. Absolutely. What a blooming film. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that. And then what?
We got thrown away from The West Wing, but your final one, I know, is one of Rod's favourites, Seinfeld.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Seinfeld is unbelievable. I think it's described as a comedy about nothing, and it's right. They don't do anything, do they? But I think, I mean, Seinfeld is astounding, isn't he? And whoever plays Elaine, she's gone on to be a genius, hasn't she? Yep. But the guy that absolutely has me howling is George, isn't it? Yeah. With all his idiosyncrasies and his lack of self-esteem and everything. He is absolutely the world's loser, isn't he? Oh, God. George can just have you howling laughing. And the thing about Seinfeld is, Rod, you'll agree with this, you can watch the same episode over and over and still laugh, can't you? It's so clever.
It's brilliant. The pair of them just
live recently, Rod.
Seinfeld. Yeah, I saw him live 2 years ago. Oh no, it was about 18 months ago in the Hammersmith Apollo, and he's just a virtuoso comedian. He comes on, not an expletive in sight, just so well crafted. And it was a mass. He's got a beautiful suit on that looks like it's made out of some unworldly material, just shimmers in the light. It's just class. The guy is so classy, and the show is an extension of that humor perfectly, isn't it?
But I mean, you'll understand this, but the American sitcoms absolutely smashed ours into pieces, didn't they? When you think about Seinfeld and you think about Cheers, and we had things like George and the Dragon and all the rubbish we have to put up with. But of course, I mean, we've got better, haven't we, since the young ones, etc., etc. But I mean, the American sitcoms, I think, absolutely murdered us for some time, didn't they?
They did. My favourite sitcom from America years ago was Soap. Remember that? Used to be on at 11:30 at night in the country.
I remember it. It was fantastic.
Then, I mean, that brought through Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And that and I still don't know why, but it just ended weird. It just completely ended without any ending.
Yeah, I know, like it was going to come back, but it never did.
Yeah, there was aliens involved in the ending, and God knows.
But
Even Benson got his own series out of it.
Yeah, he did.
Robert Gillame, is it? Robert Gillame?
Yeah. But they do humour so well, don't they? They just seem to. I mean, even the dramas are funny. Like you watch something like Ozark. I don't know whether you've seen that, but
God, another thing that I had to stop watching that because the violence and the tension in Ozark. I watched the first series and then I couldn't bear to watch it after that. It's one of those films you just could not relax for a second in Ozark.
But it's laced with this black humour, isn't it?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Oh well, that's another great. A great there, I think. I concur with all of it.
Cora, The Chase, West Wing, and Seinfeld. So we're moving on to your.
I think Give Me Five would be my favourite podcast. If I only listened to a podcast.
Your top 5 sports personalities.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll rush through these quickly, won't we? Because they're not funny. Gareth Edwards, because my father was Welsh, and when it comes to rugby, I'm entirely Welsh. I absolutely love Wales. I cheer for Wales. I cheered like mad for Scotland on last Monday or Sunday, and I cheer for everybody against England, whoever it is, South Africa, Luxembourg, Australia, New Zealand, any team that's playing England, I'll cheer for them. So Gareth Edwards, my dad had debentures at Cardiff Arms Park. Talking from the back of his throat, the benches at Cardiff Arms Park, I'm going to cry. So I lived through all the Barry John, Gareth Edwards era. And Gareth Edwards, I think, has been voted the greatest rugby player that ever played. And of course, I've met him many times and spoke with him on the circuit. So I've been utterly privileged to meet the man. And he's a gentleman, isn't he? He's so modest, a man of such utter brilliance and strength and power and psychological. Oh, what a guy! What a guy!
Yeah, he is. He's a class act, and
absolutely.
Just reminded by Ian Parsons then of our friend of the show, Tony, who is like a real life Mr. Malaprop, and he said, as soon as this is all over, I'm going to buy myself one of them dementia seats.
Well, I'm definitely headed for one of them. Yeah. So Gareth Edwards, without a shadow, would be the top, and then. For football, and I just picked JJ Okocha because he came to Bolton Wanderers when Sam Allardyce was there. In fact, Sam, they all have a go at Sam, and I don't blame them, but he brought some genius players to Bolton, Giannakopoulos and Juve, and we saw some of the best football that Bolton has ever produced. For God's sake, I actually went to Bayern Munich with my family when we played Bayern Munich in the Europa League, and we drew in Munich 2-2 with Bayern Munich. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, Bayern Munich under 12s would beat us now, but in those days it was just a joy watching Bolton. And Okocha was astounding. His skill was beyond belief. And he would do these ridiculous keepy-uppies in the middle of a match, and always with this huge Nigerian smile on his face. I mean, he played football for joy. He was just fantastic guy. Fantastic.
He did that trick on the wing that I think Ray Parlour will still be having nightmares about.
Yes. Well, they play it all the time. I was at that match. We used to beat Arsenal every single time.
No, you didn't.
Yes, we did.
Through a couple.
Every single time.
We went there and beat you 2-0. Freddie Ljungberg scored with his red hair.
Oh, get stuffed. I remember when Nelka, we even had Nelka playing for us. He scored 2 against.
Oh, yeah, I remember that day. I was there that day.
Brilliant. And Allardyce used to get right up poor old Arsene Wenger's nose, didn't he? Oh, right up his nose.
I remember one time I went there for, I think it was a 12:30 kickoff for a cup match. We won 1-0. We were 1-0 up. I think Juve got sent off. Allardyce changed the whole system, and you were the better side for 80 minutes with 10 men. And I came away and thought, Allardyce ain't bad, you know. He's got something about him.
Well, Kevin Davis was on a podcast recently and said that Allardyce is totally underestimated. He was a phenomenal man manager and he had science, sports science. He was there before anybody else when it came to exercise and recovery and diet and stuff. He was incredible, apparently. Yeah. And he got Yuri Georgiev to come to us. He went all the way to Italy to meet Yuri and he took a video of Bolton with him, and he was trying to persuade Yuri how he could get into Bolton and he'd build the team around him. And Yuri suddenly stopped him and said, Mr. Allardyce, all I want to know is, will it be fun? Will it be fun? And Allardyce said, I promise you, Yuri, it'll be fun. And Yuri said, I'm coming. And we had Yuri Georgiev, for God's sake. He was incredible. Eh?
Ivan Campo,
Herrera. Yeah, we had them all.
Yeah. Hell of a side you had.
Hell of a side.
Muhammad Ali was we were in company together, Kev, which was in it was a gig we did, a 2-night gig in Bolton.
Yeah.
For Norman Vernon, and Dice was sat there in the audience, wasn't he? And I had the chance to shake his hand, and he's a hell of a character, isn't he?
Oh yes, he's a great character, Sam. Yeah, drinks like a fish, honestly. I remember doing the Northwest Football Association managers do or something. I was sat next to Sven Göran Eriksson, who I have to tell you has got to be the most boring man I have ever sat next to in my entire life. But in front of me were Allardyce and Peter Reid, right? Allardyce and Peter Reid, I am not kidding. They were utterly stonked before the soup arrived. It was incredible. Incredible. Great guys.
So you've got 3 left for your sports people. Muhammad Ali was one, I believe.
Yeah, well, we grew up through Muhammad Ali. Do I need to say any more? Of course, really. Muhammad Ali would be in anybody's list, wouldn't they? So we won't go too much about him. Roger Federer, because my wife would leave me for Roger Federer. In fact, she'd leave me for anybody now. But even when I was young, handsome and beautiful, she would have left me then for Roger Federer. One of the best nights of my life is when we lived in New Zealand. We went across to Melbourne for the Australian Open to watch Roger Federer, and he got beat by Stan Wawrinka. My poor old wife, she was so fed up. It was the best day of my life. And then I can't remember who else.
Tiger.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, nothing needs to be said. But I was... because I'm a doctor and very, very rich, I went to the Masters in 2019, the Augusta Masters, and it was the 3rd day I got to, and I was on the 16th or the 17th, that par 3 that everybody plays to at the Masters, and we watched him there, sat in our little seats. We were very close to him, and he birdied it. Yeah, and then, of course, he went on the next day and won the Masters. Incredible, yeah.
Well, that was the famous shot, wasn't it, of Tiger when it was in the bunker on the 16th, 17th of Augusta when he chips, and it just had to happen with the Nike swoosh.
Yeah,
just
teetering on the brink. And
it's got to be one of the best sporting moments ever, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the greatest golf shots of all time. That one on Bubba Watson out of the woods. That was just Phil Mickelson.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited already about Thursday, to be fair.
Yeah, it starts on Thursday, doesn't it? The Masters, you're right.
Did you fancy Kev for it?
So difficult to say, isn't it, Gary? People that come from nowhere to win the Masters. It's I don't know. Lee Westwood, I'd love to see him do it. I don't think he can, but he's on top form at the moment, isn't he?
He plays Augusta well, Westwood.
Yeah, I'd love to see Lee do it. But then as soon as he's done it, he has to retire. He has to stop immediately because he just breaks our hearts, doesn't he? He's forever nearly there.
I don't know whether you're aware, Kev, but there's a bit of a cliche about doctors and golf. Do you
fancy that? Fancy that? How could you possibly think that? I'm embarrassed to tell you that I am actually on the tee at 11:10 this morning. So I'm very embarrassed to tell you that. So we have to finish by.
We're flying through then. Music. We'll go straight into your music, your artists or groups, and you've got some. Well, for me, some strange, folky.
Oh yeah. Well, I was a bit
folky.
I was a bit of a folky when I was younger. I was in a folk band called Moles in Syrup. I was the lead singer for Moles in Syrup, and we used to do all the folk covers, Lindisfarne and Dylan and all that. But Fairport Convention, I've watched them over 50 years. I go to their festival. They have a festival every August in Cropredy near Banbury in Oxford. Fabulous festival, 25,000 people. And it's a festival for old middle-class people. You take a chair and you sit down and you drink white wine. You don't take drugs. Well, you do. You take things for your prostate. So I love Fairport. And then Dylan, of course, I'm a psycho about Dylan. I'll tell you my Dylan story. This is when we nearly got divorced. I've seen Dylan about 40 times. I've got everything he's ever written. I've got everything he's ever done. I've spent thousands of pounds on Bob Dylan memorabilia. I went to a Bob Dylan conference in Leicester. We'd only just got married. It was in the 80s. We had no money at all. I was living in a hovel in London. We'd only just got married. And there was a platinum disc of Dylan's greatest album, Blood on the Tracks, that was going up for auction later. So I said to my friend Jim, I would bid up to 2,000 quid for that, Jimmy. It'll go for about 15,000, don't worry, but at least I can bid on it. Turned out it was worth 280 quid. Anyway, I went home and the phone went and Jimmy said, oh, by the way, good news, we've got it. I said, what do you mean we've got it? I said, we've got the platinum disc. And you know what? He said, if the other fella had bid once more, you wouldn't have got it. I said, oh, how much? He said, 1,950 quid. I said, oh my God, 1,950 quid. And I put the phone down and Liz came in and she said, who was that? I said, oh, it's Jimmy. She said, what was it about? Oh, I said, oh, I've just bought this Bob Dylan record from the festival. She said, what do you mean? What was it? I said, oh, it's just a Dylan thing. She said, how much? I said, 1950. She said, you've wasted £20 on a Bob Dylan album. 20 bloody pounds. I said, no, love, £1,950. Oh my God. Honest to God, you should have seen her face. It went from ha ha, he's such a comedian, to oh my God, he's telling the truth. I'm leaving him. Oh God.
Roger Federer.
I've still, yeah, I know. I've still got the platinum disc. It's worth absolutely nothing, but I've got to keep it now, haven't I?
Brilliant.
So I'm a Dylan madman. I'm a madman on Dylan. I can tell you everything about Dylan.
Does he still, still kicking about, isn't he? But does he do any concerts?
Oh yeah, he's been on a never-ending tour since about 1978. He's on tour constantly on tour, and he gets worse and worse and worse. I mean, he can hardly sing, he can hardly walk. He plays the piano now with one finger. He can't blow his mouth organ. He just goes like that. And again, it's a bit like Coronation Street. I have to go, even though I'm just appalled by how bad it is now. And I wished I'd seen him in the first time I saw him was at Blackbush in 1978 with another 250,000 people. It was the biggest outdoor festival Britain had seen in the Aerodrome at Blackbush. He was on with Eric Clapton and Graham Parker and the Rumour, but it was unbelievable. But ever since then, every time I've seen him, he's just got worse and worse. And now it's just, it's like watching a slow death, really, which I'm good at. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think I'm doing him a disservice when I say his voice wasn't the best when he was in his pomp, really, was it?
Well, he had his own distinct characteristics. I love his voice, I have to say, but I understand that people think he sings out of tune. He doesn't, of course, but yeah. He's incredible phraseologist. He's a bit like Sinatra, you know what I mean? He doesn't hit the notes. He's hit off the notes. It's quite superb, I think. But I'm not going to argue with you now because we haven't got time, and I could do 6 hours on Bob Dylan.
Yeah, yes.
Well, luckily we're running out of time because your next one is Leonard Cohen.
Well, that's right, Leonard Cohen, a man to commit suicide by. You know, Cohen and Dylan were obviously great friends, weren't they? So. I'm not going to go on and on about it. Everybody knows Leonard Cohen. I just love him. If you know, So Long Marianne and Bird on a Wire. If you listen, Bird on a Wire, for goodness sake, that line, like a babe still born, like a beast with a horn, you have torn in. I've forgotten the words. Anyway, you know what I mean. Anyway, my favourite line, I tell you what, my favourite line in the whole of music is, it's Chris Christopherson, and this is the most cynical line on earth. It's from me and Bobby McGee, and it's freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Think about that. Think about that, mate.
Oh.
And my other favourite line that breaks my heart is Neil Young after the Gold Rush. Listen to this and just think what this means. I was thinking about what a friend had said. I was hoping it was a lie. Oh.
You see,
the ramifications of that are just astounding.
You see, Steve Kinden's favourite line from a song is, "There's an old man sitting next to me making love to his tonic and gin." That's his favourite.
Yeah, that's Billy Joel, isn't it? Piano
Billy
Man.
Joel,
What
Piano
a
Man.
song. Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, who else have I put there?
The Beatles, who are they?
Yeah, the Beatles and David Bowie. We don't need to say any more, do we? Let's move on to dinner guests if we're running out of time. Who's going to argue with the Beatles and David Bowie? To be honest, who is going to argue?
Yeah, who is going to argue? At least Elvis isn't there. That's the main thing.
And Elton John should have been there, maybe. I saw Elton John on his very first tour in, I think it was 19... You see, you're young, you kids, aren't you? I was at the Liverpool Empire in 1976. Elton John, unbelievable. First, so Your Song had just come out. Your Song. I mean, has that been a song that all of us have loved forever? And he had so many, he was only just starting out and he had so few songs, he had to do Your Song twice.
Did he? Did he really?
Yeah.
God.
So your dinner guests then, if we're moving quickly on.
How much longer have we got? Tell me, give me an idea how much longer we've got.
Well, you're teeing off in 41 minutes.
Yeah, I've got to leave in about 10 minutes. Is that
So
all
we'll
right?
have 10 minutes on your dinner guests.
Right. Well, some of
these are beauties.
Yeah, well, you won't know some of them. You won't know some of them.
Some of them?
Oh, well, you know, have you known Stewart Lee?
Yeah.
Oh, Stewart Lee.
Well, I love you too, don't get me wrong.
The 41st greatest comedian in the world.
Yeah. I believe Stewart Lee, and this is honestly no insult to you two, who I rate massively highly. I honestly believe that Stewart Lee is the best comedian that has ever existed in the history of time itself.
I always get the feeling Stewart Lee doesn't like people laughing at him.
Stewart Lee, his concerts, there is about 8 levels going on.
Yeah.
There's Stewart Lee, the real Stewart Lee. The Stewart Lee, the character he plays when he's being Stewart Lee. The Stewart Lee commenting on how the audience are doing and in their ability to react to what he does. There's his material, which is absolutely incredible. And then there's his politics and his beliefs. And all this sort of mixes together in the most astounding, and he's an intelligent man. And there's so much genius in Stewart Lee. And yet I can understand how some people absolutely hate him. I mean, the Daily Mail hate him, don't they? And apparently he's got some big feud with Lee Mack, who I also have to state is absolutely brilliant. I've seen him live a few times, and there's very few to compete with Lee Mack in his ad libs. He's astoundingly fast, isn't he?
Astounding. On that, Would I Lie to You, he's frightening.
Oh, you gasp, don't you? We're in the business, aren't we?
As a comic thing, how's he thought of that? It's that quick. He's just brilliant.
Astounding.
Yeah.
So Stewart Lee is my favourite comedian. And the reason I put Billy Connolly in is because Billy Connolly, in my opinion, totally changed the face of comedy, didn't he? Before Billy, it was all about My Mother-in-Law's So Fat. And then along came Billy Connolly and started to just talk about normal life and remind us that we all live through exactly the same things. And he made it funny, and more than funny, he made us wet ourselves laughing, talking about, you know, all the things he talked about, peeing and shitting and shagging. And
he came from the folk scene as well, didn't he, Billy Connolly?
Well, yeah, he was in a band called the Humble Bums, wasn't he, with Jerry Rafferty.
That's right.
There's a fantastic song I've just been listening to. If you get a chance to listen to it on Spotify. And her father didn't like me anyway. If you ever get a chance to listen to that, it's a brilliant song. So Billy Connolly, incredible. And I'm reading his, once again, reading his biography by Pamela Stevenson. I'm reading it at the moment. He had the most appalling childhood. His mother walked out on him with his elder sister, who was about 5 and he was about 3. She just left the house and left the 2 kids in the house. And it was only when their aunties passed about 3 days later and heard them crying that they went into the house to find these 2 little orphans. So his mother just got up and left. His dad sexually abused him from about the age of 8 till about 12. I mean, how he emerged out into life without being a broken psychiatric case, I don't know. An incredible banjo player, would you believe?
Yeah.
An immense talent.
Brilliant.
Billy Connolly.
No arguments from me with Billy Connolly, one of the all-time greats.
What about you, Rod? Are you with Billy and Stewart?
Absolutely, yeah. I love Stewart Lee. Billy Connolly is probably there in my top 3, and I totally agree with what you said there about the way that he changed the face of it. He did sort of, for this country's comedy, what Lenny Bruce and George Carlin and people like that did for comedy in America. And I think it's amazing how many of them came from the folk scene. When you think every region seemed to have, because up until then it was guys in spangly suits and, you know, and very show busy, and then suddenly they started coming on with jeans and a t-shirt, and there was Carrot in the Midlands. You had like Richard Digance down south, Max Boyce in Wales.
I loved Max Boyce. I loved him.
Mike Harding, yeah, and they between them they sort of gave this, and this was all before the alternative scene that came through in the 80s with the Ben Eltons and all that.
Absolutely.
And you almost saw Billy Connolly's change take place, because when he was on that Parkinson show and he did that classic joke about parking the bike in
the bum.
Yeah. And then it became so outrageous from that alone that he seemed to have the confidence to go on and just whimsy about anything, didn't he?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the alternative circuit. I was working down in London when that started. I went to Raymond's Review Bar one night to watch Rick Mail and Aid Edmondson, Nigel Planer, Alexis Sale was the compere. Can you imagine it? We'd never seen anything like it, mate. I stood there. I howled till I thought I was going to die. Bill Oddie was sat in the seat next to me. He didn't laugh once. I think he realised this was the end of the goodies, you know. He must have known it was the end. And immediately, again, I went and saw them again the next night. You had to go and see it. It was just Alexis Sale. I mean, it was just so aggressive. It was just unbelievably aggressive. I've never seen anything like it. I thought I was going to die. I had double incontinence. You know what I mean? It was one of those earth-shattering moments. Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, I guess we all love comedy, don't we? And I'm a student of comedy, but those are big days. Connolly on Parkinson was a big day for British comedy. Raymond's Review Bar, when those lots started, whatever they used to call themselves, the Anarchy Brothers or whatever. It was just astounding.
Dr. Kev, I was expecting to find Peter Kay on your list because I'd seen you there, Pride of Place, front row, in the recording of the Mum Wants a Bungalow tour. Beautiful.
Yeah. I love Peter Kay. I love Peter Kay with all my heart. But again, it was a bit too obvious. He's Bolton and everything. But Peter Kay has taken observational comedy, I think, to a new level. I remember watching Al Murray. I love Al Murray. I love that character, the whatever it is, the pub landlord. Yeah. And he said he doesn't like Peter Kay. He said in his show that Peter Kay is just a one-trick pony. You know, I said, well, yeah, but what a trick! You know what I mean? What a trick! He's
cares
taken
if he's a
observational
one-trick pony?
comedy to the absolute minutiae, hasn't he? And he's made it hysterical.
Yeah.
But he plays to the masses. That's the thing with Peter Kay. He's loved by everyone in this country. I was saying to Nina the other day, he's loved. 99% of the country love Peter Kay.
Absolutely, love it. Love it.
You've got 3 left. You've got Barack Obama.
Well, again, that's very obvious, isn't it? I just wanted somebody to tell me what's happening in the world, and I thought he'd probably know better than anybody. And then when you see that clown that took over from him, I mean, what in God's name was that about? Don't start me. But, you know, the leader of the free world was Donald Trump. What is happening? Don't, and oh, please. And COVID and what he's done for that as a doctor. I've watched that disaster in America. Not that we did much better here, but anyway, don't get me. We'll have a whole, tell you what, I'll come back next week and I'll do the whole program on COVID-19. That'll be a laugh. That'll be a laugh.
Audrey Hepburn.
Right. The reason I put Audrey Hepburn is because A, she is utterly gorgeous. There isn't a face like it, except, and Rod will back me up here, except my wife, Liz, who looks just like Audrey Hepburn. She's got those gorgeous feline features, has my wife, Liz. So I've always loved my wife, obviously. She hates me to death, but that's normal in marriage. And Audrey Hepburn always reminds me of my wife. So whenever I watch an Audrey Hepburn film, I'm thinking of Liz, you know, in Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. And Audrey Hepburn, not only, well, again, you know, she nearly starved to death, didn't she, during the Second World War? She was helping the Dutch resistance. She became so malnourished that she blew up with edema due to no protein in her blood. She very nearly died in the Dutch famine at the end of World War II. And then, you know, out of all that appalling mess, she became a Hollywood film star, a fashion icon, a beauty icon. And then she gave all her time to UNICEF. So she combines everything, doesn't she? She combines the war, she combines the golden age of Hollywood, and then she combines her philanthropic work, and she looks like my wife Liz. She's gorgeous. So who else would I possibly have but Audrey Hepburn?
Exactly. Oscar winner as well. Oscar winner.
Well, apparently the only area that she fell a bit short in was singing, because in My Fair Lady, she didn't actually sing, did she? It was
I know. That's right, Rod.
So what's Liz's voice like? Does she trumpet there?
No, like an angel.
Don't bring Trump back in it.
No, my wife Liz is an absolute polyglot. She's a gorgeous singer. She can play the flute to grade 8. She plays tennis. She could beat not Federer, but anybody else. And she's better at golf than I am. She's probably a better doctor than I am. In fact, I'm punching way above my weight, boys, way above my weight. But I think I got more attractive as my wallet got bigger, you know.
So your last one, we've mentioned him already, so we don't have to go a great deal for him. Jack Nicholson was your last dinner party guest.
Absolutely. I'm very glad to say I've got a fantastic photo in the study of Jack Nicholson trying to pick up the water thing at the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it's autographed, not to me, I'm afraid. I did buy it off an autograph hunter, but I have got Jack Nicholson's autograph on that photograph. I mean, a mate of mine, I lived in America for a bit, and I went to Aspen skiing, and I heard this great story. He lived near Aspen. He had a house near Aspen, and he found out that there was an Irish rugby union team coming over to play. Aspen has actually got a rugby union team, would you believe, which in the old days was unheard of in America. And an Irish team came out to play at Aspen. And Nicholson found out there was an Irish rugby team coming to Aspen. He went down into Aspen, got them all, and took them all back to his house. And they just got pissed for 3 days in Aspen, the Irish rugby team and Jack Nicholson. And that's the sort of guy that you want him to be, isn't it? Heavy drinking, heavy lads, and of course women love him as well. So I guess if I could have been anybody, if I could be anybody again, and to be honest, I'm very happy with who I am. I might be Jack Nicholson.
My son is named after one of his characters.
Randall.
Chinatown.
Oh yeah, he played the detective with
and then
what?
The two.
What is it?
Jake.
Jake, yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a great film as well. Chinatown.
Right, what a film Chinatown was.
Yeah.
Listen, I can see that you're sat in your locker room. I can see there behind, so you'll be.
This is my kitchen.
Is it? Oh, sorry, I thought it was your locker room. I thought.
No, oh yeah, I am. We're doing fine here. I've got about 3 minutes, then I'm going.
Well, the one good thing, Kev, is that you are dressed for golf. I like to imagine that's how you play.
No, yes, I've got my tweed trousers and my socks tucked in. Yeah.
I bet you use hickory shafts as well.
Of course, I use hickory shafts. Of course, I do. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Kev.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Have I been okay?
Brilliant, mate.
Can we not do it again? I've loved it. Can we do it again sometime? I love it, mate.
You are one of the great orators of our time. I'd love to get you and Danny Baker together. It would be brilliant.
Oh, I loved it. Listen, it's lovely to see you both, and thank you for having me. Let me know when I can watch it.
Not a problem.
Absolutely.
All right, mate.
You said you'd like to be Jack Nicholson, but we're so glad that you're Dr. Kevin Jones.
Oh, you're so lovely. I hope you've had your jabs. Have you had your jabs?
I've had my jab.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Right. Oh, well, you're young. Look at you. You look about 12. You're amazing.
Can you put up these things for me?
All right. Give my love to the girls. Give my love to Debs. Give me all the best to you, boys.
See you later.
See you now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
As an academic, my fundamental bugbear with the show Give Me 5 is that you will not learn anything by listening to it.
Well, we're about to go and have a lie down and think about what just happened here. How good was that, Gaz? Dr. Kevin?
Brilliant. Well, like you say, if you sat next to him at a dinner, you know how passionate he's going to be about every subject and every person he's talking about. He's just a very, very passionate man. He's brilliant.
And enlightening as well. I mean, I'm still musing on some of his recommended quotes there. I mean, I was thinking about something a friend said to me and hoping he was lying. That's the story of my life, to be honest with you. But we will be back with more of the same very soon. And if you can possibly join us, we would love to see you on the Gimme 5 podcast. This has been a Tis Done production, and massive thanks as always to our producer, Ian Parsons. From me, Rod Woodward, and Gary Marshall. It's over and out. Nanu, nanu.
Nanu, nanu.